Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine and I have a cooking tutorial to share with you today. We are using this book called the Silk Road Gourmet as inspiration for today's recipes. We are in the middle of our Silk Road unit study for our homeschool, and this cookbook is providing a lot of inspiration for recipes for this unit study. Today we're going to be working on kebabs of lamb or beef with mint, and today I've got 2 pounds of ground beef for this recipe. So I'm going to be using some fresh mint as well as dried mint. Now we are using 2 pounds of beef and the recipe calls for 1 pound. So we are doubling this recipe. So for the complete recipe from the cookbook, you can check the blog post that accompanies this video. That link is down in the description box below. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar as well as 2 teaspoons of mint and 4 teaspoons of sea salt. I'm putting all of this into my NutriBullet canister because we're going to be blending all of these ingredients before adding it to the meat. I'm also using some fresh ground black pepper, 2 teaspoons. So I've altered the recipe just a little bit to suit the doubling of the recipe. So you can find my recipe as well as the recipe from the book on the blog post. So I've added some crushed chili peppers. Now I didn't have any full chili peppers, so I sort of estimated about how much to add. And next we're going to add 2 onions. So I'm going to peel these and lightly chop them before putting them in the NutriBullet. So I'm going to slice them one way and then just cut them in half the other way. But you can see that I cut them pretty small, and by the time we get them into the NutriBullet, everything's going to get blended up quite a bit. So I'm going to put the lid on and then use our NutriBullet to blend this up. If you have another blender where it can keep those onion pieces a little bit larger, that would probably be better and a little bit more authentic to the recipe's recommendation. So you can see that this got completely blended. And now I'm going to add it to those 2 pounds of ground beef. And then we're going to take a few minutes just to really mix everything in really well. Now this becomes very liquidy, but I wouldn't recommend draining it because you might lose a lot of the flavor from the spices if you do that. So next we're going to put our compost material aside and we're going to compost that later. And now it's time to make our kebabs. So I've taken about 2 to 3 tablespoons and I'm rocking them together between my fingers in order to make these long kebabs that are about 3 to 4 inches. And we're going to make 23 all together. We're going to chill them for about 2 hours. Now, 2 hours later, we're going to set our oven on broil at the highest temperature it can go. And I am using some parchment paper to line my tray so that I can transfer them because you can see that there's quite a bit of liquid left behind. Now, even during the baking process, it's also going to create a lot of liquid. So if you want to have less liquid, I would recommend that you space them farther apart and use multiple trays. You can see that I put all the kebabs on one tray here and I put them on the top rack so they can broil, but it released so much liquid that you can see that they're still going to be quite moist when they're done. And you could probably use that liquid in order to make a nice sauce to go along with them, but it's releasing a lot of water because we did use 2 onions. So at this point, we're going to transfer them onto our serving platter. You cook them for 5 minutes on each side. However, I misread the recipe and I just cooked them on the one side. Now, this was such a hit. My family loved this recipe so much. We paired it with a little bit of plain basmati rice and it was a huge hit. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for more information on this recipe as well as the materials that we used. You can find that link down in the description box below. If you'd like to see some of our other tutorials and videos for our Silk Road unit study, you can tap on the screen right now. And if you want to see what we're cooking and how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.